Okay, so we're back to the chicken coop. Wife and kids did a little painting on it. So I'm gonna walk you through, show you what we're gonna do. This will become a door. Okay, we got the opening for the chicken poo to fall through to the ground. I'm gonna put a sliding clean out underneath. We got the vent holes. We got the nesting boxes here. We're gonna get them taken care of real quick. And the entrance to the coop right there. I'll have to make a little walk from the aviary to the coop. I got my roof runners. This is just slightly higher than the outside wall. It'll allow for a little bit of air ventilation there and allow me to bring the roof out over the edge. I'll show you that here in a little while. Okay, so what we need to do is put in the roost. So I'm going to run the roost all the way across directly above the supports, and then I'm going to put in the chicken box dividers and install this piece here. Now I don't think that piece is really necessary, but I made it, so I'll put it in. Alright, so we're going to cut 2 more 2x4s. I cut them 2x4s at just under 4 feet. And I kind of got a little lazy on the measurements. If you have any questions about measurements or anything like that, feel free to ask. I could always go out to the coop and measure off any section that I may have forgotten to show the measurements on. But in general, you can pretty much just put the pieces of wood where you want them, or take your tape measure at this point and just measure it off. Now, I forgot to level off the front side of this, so I'm gonna just level it off a little bit. It's not going to be absolutely perfect. The ground got really hard on me, so I was having trouble pushing the dirt away to get the bricks under the front legs. So I went ahead and I left it a little bit out of level, not a lot, and went ahead and finished the majority of the making of this coop. You'll have to bear with me for a little bit while I level it off. You really should level it off before you get it too heavy. And the ground that I'm on is in no way level, so with it being all dried out and hard, I'm going to wind up having to put the sprinkler underneath there very low and soften up the soil in order to level that all out nice and flush. Backside's level, front side's not level. But I'll take care of that final adjustments once I'm completely done. It's real simple. For now, I'm just going to stuff a couple of rocks underneath this leg and leave the brick underneath the other side. And then I'll go in with a shovel. I'll dig out from underneath that leg. I'll put another brick underneath that leg there that I put the little rocks on. Alright, so for the roost, I took a 2x4, I cut a 45 on one end, and then I cut 2 notches, which are also 45s, in that, so that each one of them would land directly over the top of the long wire mesh supports. And I'll show you that right now. And then I'm going to have to move my door out of the way of the bottom so that you can see that. Now yes, this does block that doorway a little bit, but I made that doorway very wide and very tall so that I can get under and around it easily. With the design of the inside of this coop, won't need a whole lot of cleaning because of the droppings being able to go through the floor underneath the pin. I'm going to nail this in place. Now, rather than running the 2x4s upright, I ran them flat. Very specific reason for that. Chickens actually prefer to sleep flat-footed and on their stomach. If you run the 2x4 flat as opposed to vertical, they'll be able to rest without having to balance a lot. Their feathers will completely cover their feet. See how I got it? It's going to sit in there just like that. Feathers will completely cover their feet, and should there be any mosquito issues or anything like that, then their feathers will protect their feet. I did slightly undercut the 2x4s by accident, and you can't add to the wood, you can only take away from it, so I just made do with what I had. It wasn't that big of a deal. Let me get this camera set up here. Okay, on the opposite side of the wall, as you can now see, I just nailed on 2 pieces of 2x4, just small, directly to the wall, and now I can just rest the 2x4s directly on it. Now, you might be thinking, oh, that's not going to hold weight. Well, chickens don't weigh a whole lot, so there's no big deal on that. And I did notice that I made the runner, the highest runner, a little high on the right side of the pin, so I'm going to have to lower that down a little bit. And I don't think I showed it, caught that on the video, but I did lower that in a little bit. See how this is working out? Now I got a little bit of more work to do. Yeah, I didn't show putting that on one. Okay, so these boards don't start sagging over time. I put in 2 upright supports. And yeah, I know I'm using my tape measure to pound that in. It was a little on the tight side. But no big deal. It's an old tape measure, and I got plenty of them. But the hammer would have definitely made that work a whole lot quicker and easier. So these center supports, I'm going directly in the center on the board, and it'll get nailed to the center support at the bottom, as well as straight down from the top of the 2x4 into it. And I did the back one the exact same way. Now you can use standard nails and a hammer or screws, or whatever you want to use, whatever you have on hand in order to lock these things down. Now, chickens like to sleep with their back to the wall and facing their nesting boxes. This allows them to be able to see any predators that might be sneaking into the pen, so they like that. Now what I did was I took a 2x4 and then I put a little block on it. I'm going to put that about halfway down on here and nail that to the vertical support. Now, although the chickens are perfectly capable of jumping that high onto the roost, some chicken on the way down can hurt themselves. So I figured it couldn't hurt. I'll put these directly over the top of the center of the center board. That way, one, they're not going to sleep directly over that, so there won't be a big pile of poo on that center board, and it'll give them a much easier way to get up onto that. 1, 2, 3, and 4. If any chickens roost on that centerpiece, they'll likely turn sideways and the poo will go directly through the wire mesh below. So, see how I did that? Nice and simple. You got a step ladder effect. The chickens can go up all the way to whichever level they wish to. There is a pecking order as far as chickens are concerned. The most dominant are going to take the highest rail. Okay, so now we need to work on the nest boxes. And I think I got somebody at the door because the doggy doorbell is ringing. So I'm going to pause for a moment. I'll be right back. Okay, so I nailed on. I set the angled 2x4 up there, and then drew the underside of this out, and then tacked that in, tacked the center board in place, and then nailed in the center board. Now I'm going to take for the divider between the other two sides, and I'm going to set it right here and get my angle directly off of this 2x4. Here we go. Okay, simple as that. And then just go take that to the table saw and strip that off. And take the next one for the other side. We'll do the same thing. Okay, now we're going to strip that apart. Got to pardon the wife. She's in there doing dishes and talking to the 2-year-old granddaughter. Alright, so we're all done with that now. There's the boxes. You can see how I tacked them in. I just put 2 boards on one side. I tacked them in place, tacked the boards to them. They're not uber solid, but they're not going to fall over. They're not going to be pushed over. They're perfectly fine for the chickens. You got the step in, plenty of room for the nesting material. You got the forward lip so the nesting material don't all get kicked out, and we're all good there. Okay, so all that's left to do is the roof. I'm going to set these boards over here. I'm going to just have them slightly away, maybe a ½ an inch or so away from the side walls. And then I'm going to take and put some supports on the 2x4s right and left. I'll show that on my next video, and then I'm going to take a 4x sheet of plywood and just cut it 5 feet long. That'll give me a 1/2 foot overhang on the right and left, and it'll give me a little bit of overhang forward and back. So it works out perfect. Till my next video, have fun. Thank you for watching, and hope all goes well with you. Again, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to ask on my channel. I will reply to all questions. Thank you.